It's all over.
What's up with it? What's happening? You are officially plugged into the hottest new show in America. That's right, this is All Over Radio. I go by the name Loudmouth, your host with the West Coast mind in a D-Town, Texas grind. But of course, I can't do what I do without the help of the All Over Radio family. Right across from me, as usual, Caution 700.
What's the deal? What's good? It's cracking, everybody.
What's happening? What's happening, kinfolk? And, of course, on my left, my partner in crime, Mr. B. Clark.
What it is, what it is.
What's happening, family?
Ain't name.
We are located in D-Town, Texas, Maine, a.k.a. the Triple D, the city on the come-up. And our mission is to give you the topics you want and, of course, the 411 you need. All Over Radio is created by us, Black Kings, for Black Kings and Queens, and for anyone interested in subjects that concern Black people from a Black perspective. We'll discuss current events, important political topics, feature talented artists, and we'll give praise to organizations and individuals that are making an impact in their communities all across the United States.
It's all over.
That's right, all over. Now that you know the rundown and you're familiar, let's get into a little social media chatter with our boy B. Clark.
Yeah, get into it.
Hey, that's my favorite part of the whole joint.
You see, y'all was hating on that get into it, and now it's grown on you, see?
Nah,
Yeah.
Beautiful. It's beautiful. But now, welcome to Socially Influence. Once again, I am B. Clark, your partner, your player partner. Got a few important discussions I want to have with you guys, you brothers right here. First of all, y'all got kids just like I do, and you know what time of year it is. They're going, since the COVID-19's been happening, as we all know, kids been out of school since a spring break of last year, and now it's about that time again. They given my daughter the choice of going into school or going to online classes.
Oh, she got a choice?
Yeah, she got a choice. Yeah, was why, and she's only in the second grade, so either stay at home, get online, or go into class or into the school. And y'all having kids as well, both of you brothers. How do y'all feel about that?
Well, okay, first of all, we don't got a choice where we at.
Oh, yeah?
Nah, so your choice may be revoked
Wow.
very, very soon because
Wow.
you know how it is, it's dominoes.
Word,
You know what I'm saying?
word,
As
yeah.
one district makes a decision, they all kind of start to make decisions. So for us, we don't have a choice. I know for the first 9 weeks, it's a no-go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that means, virtual learning. And from what I've heard, from wifey is that they're about to up the ante. I feel like in the spring they took it easy on the kids.
Right.
But now they're about to start getting they're tightening it up a little bit. And so that begs the question, not only about school, but what happens to, parents.
Right.
Going back to work into an office, it's not going to be feasible because if for the first 9 weeks, kids have to do virtual learning, okay, or the risk of, how do you expect a second grader, right?
Yeah.
In your case, right, for a little girl to keep her mask on all day long
All day.
and not fidget? They can barely get kids to sit still as it is and not fidget with themselves in pencils and other people. Now they're going to keep a mask on all day long? That's just not realistic to me.
Nah,
I'm a little bit, I'm torn on it because I know that how serious the issue is, and I understand the magnitude of it. You can't risk children being in the schools and things like that. So I'm with whatever is good for the children. Like if they don't need to be there, if it's not good enough for us to do certain things, then kids should definitely not be in school. But again, the parents, like you said, where do the kids go?
Exactly.
Everybody can't afford daycare on top of the fact that they may still be working like I'm still working. So luckily I have a situation that works differently to where I have somebody that takes care of my smaller kids, but my older kids they're going to the third grade now. So it's interesting to see, man. I would hope that they continue the at home thing for as long as they possibly can. I don't know how that affects the teachers and what they do. But I would prefer that my kids stay at home and get that if they can. So
I feel the same way. But they do, from the news, quote unquote, they say that kids with under a certain, I'm going to say under the age of 10 are not as likely to catch the COVID. Yeah. I think we treat our kids a little differently. Like when we step out, I'm pretty sure y'all the same way. If you got to go to the grocery store, you're not bringing the kids. You're going to the grocery store. You're not, the kids stay at home. Or you got to go somewhere, leave the kids at the house. So we're not exposing them to as much as we're exposing ourselves to. But I feel like once they get around other kids, that it might pick up, and that's my fear. Like I don't.
Right. I saw a post the other day. Somebody posted that a parent dropped the kid off at a daycare knowing that the kid had COVID, but didn't have anywhere else for the kid to go. And the point of it was, this is going to happen at school too. Yeah. So if you think that it's not, you foolish. People are going to do this because they don't have no other option. Some people don't have the option to do anything else. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see.
You know, here's the thing though. I think that we can't lose the fact that health obviously is a big concern, but the other aspect is the education.
Right.
Where is the dip off, right? So America is already behind in a lot of categories compared to other nations across the board. So now we have a scenario where we can't get the virus under control, and now we have our generation that's coming up not being able to be educated, and the parents now have to be the primary educators. How is that going to impact
and still work at the same time?
How is that going to impact the achievement of the kids? It's, you know, so for some, they have the ability, like you said, to stay at home, and there's an intellect level there that the curriculum is not going to be difficult for some to be able to translate it to their children. But what about those that don't have the means or don't really have the patience and don't have, you know, the wherewithal to educate a child through curriculum? How are kids gonna suffer in terms of their acumen? That's what I'm concerned about.
So how does it work for kids that are like in the inner city that doesn't have a tablet they can log into or a computer?
Exactly.
That was something that I had a conversation about here recently too, and I'm like, a lot of these kids don't have that. Like, I didn't have a fancy computer in my house growing up, so if I had to stay at home and learn, it was going to be papers, and this is what I dropped back off. I mean, I had my experiences with, you know, being homeschooled myself, so. But I definitely thought about that the other day. I was like, damn, what about the kids that can't log on and do that? You know what I'm saying? They just stuck or have to go to a friend's house or the library or, you know, whatever's feasible.
Or the kids that learn different, because not everybody learns the same. You can read this, you can show them how to read this and do this, and then bam. Or some kids need to be hands-on,
and the
more
parents,
physical.
A lot of them don't know how to do this new shit anyway. Like, a lot, that's what I've been seeing is like parents complaining about the stuff is different. They don't understand it. Like, and that kind of has you lose your patience after a while. Like, shit, I don't know what to tell you. Like, go ahead and just whatever that is now. However y'all get to 2 times 2 now, you know, do your thing. However y'all work it out.
But you know what, Clark, though, I think that it actually benefits the kids that learn different. You know, so for example, like my son, he doesn't do well with the traditional school curriculum format. Right? It's too rigid for him. He's more of a creative. He's very eclectic in the way that he thinks and he processes information. And he struggles with, you know, the very quick, pithy 45 minutes, switch. You know, so actually he's benefited very much so from having kind of his own schedule and being able to do things on his own accord, and we're able to talk through things with him. So I think for kids that have those kinds of situations, they're gonna thrive in that environment. Now, you talked about the ability for the kids in the inner city to be impacted. I agree with that 100%. There was even kids that are in the burbs we were seeing that don't have access to tablets, like you were saying. And also, what about kids in rural areas that don't have the Wi-Fi connectivity? I was just out, as y'all know, struggling, you know, up in a place where I could barely download files. So what about those kids? How does that impact them? I think that the country's in trouble, man.
I agree.
Even what about the special needs kids? What about the attention that they need?
You're right.
Like they kind of get lost in all the sauce too.
It's a lack of ability of a parent to even know how to deal with teaching a special needs kid. Like it's gonna turn into a bigger issue. The same way that we talked about with, you know, domestic violence in the home and everybody quarantining together. And like these things are going to come to a head eventually. So hopefully they get something worked out, even if it means minimal time in the classroom. If they split the size of the classroom and spread them out, so y'all this section goes for 3 days out of the week, and then y'all come the other 3 and we keep y'all all. I don't know. It's a difficult, you know, road to map out.
It is. If I would say there's any positive to this, I would say that as parents, we rely too much on the school to educate our kids. Right? We expect the kids to teach our kids everything about every aspect of life. And so it's putting the onus back on parents to say, no, you got to be involved in this education process, which I think is good for the accountability and the sense of ownership that's going to come from it.
Right. And not to prolong this any longer, but I think that's a very big issue that you're speaking about, because even I think I was watching something here recently where like a little girl got kidnapped, right? And the mother went to the school and she's talking to the teacher and she's like, well, if she wasn't here, isn't it your responsibility to know where she's at? And the teacher was like, no, you're the parent. You should always know where your child is. And so I think that's a big deal too. A lot of people just drop their kids off at school to have somewhere for them to go throughout the day.
School is not daycare.
Right. So yeah, that's get it together, people. You know, now is the time for you to get your parenting skills to a T. Like, get it together.
Exactly. Next topic I got for you guys is the way 2020 has been going. Even with the topic I just gave y'all, with your kids going back to school, it could put a lot on a parent's mind, a man's mind, dealing with having to be the breadwinner of the house, having to focus on everything, taking care of everybody, and it's just a lot of pressure on us brothers that a lot of people don't realize. So it can put a lot on your mind and your mental health. And I just want to bring that up to y'all. We have to focus on our mental health, make sure that each one of us stay positive, stay together, stay focused on the same path. I had a little conversation with, like I said, a doctor friend of mine, and we were talking about men's mental health in 2020 and everything that's been going on. And pretty much she told me that research says that women tend to discuss mental health and coping with emotions more than men, which is pretty much obvious.
Yeah.
And while research says that women experience major depressive disorder 1.5 to 3 times more than men, and are twice as likely to have a generalized anxiety disorder, it's still important to make sure we discuss this. So I got a few questions with you brothers to see how y'all's mind and how y'all been going on in y'all's life right now. First of all, did y'all talk about y'all emotions when y'all were growing up?
Oh man, I can start this one.
Yeah,
off.
go ahead.
One thing I say I was probably blessed with, not having a father in the home. My mother is an individual that forced you to tell her how you felt and why you did something. So she was quick with the belt. You know, you still got to go pick your own switch. You know, if she didn't have nothing to hit you with, she was throwing jabs. My mother was a real one. She'll tell you. Like, she was a real one. But she was always like, if I did something wrong, I had to explain to her why I did it. It couldn't be, I didn't know. Or if I was upset, or if I felt hurt about something, or if, if I got kicked out of school for something, it was dialogue had there. So it helped me to be able to speak to her about it. But what I will say is, that openness didn't come with others. Right. Like it was. I found out when I got older and I moved out of her house. I wasn't as open to sharing my feelings with like my woman or my peers. I would talk to my homeboys about certain things, but it took a while for me to be able to express myself the way that I wanted to, as far as on an emotional level and how I felt. And that was always a little bit easier because you speak in passion. But as far as my mental health, it took a while to really understand what that was about and like how to even address those things.
Yeah, I mean, also too, growing up in Compton, I'm sure there's some, PTSD involved with
a little bit.
Exactly.
Some of the war zone aspect of growing up in the arms that has to be there. For me, my experience, I think, fortunately for me, I'm saddened by it when I talk to my peers. I had a very different experience. I grew up, my parents are still married. They've been married,
mine as well,
40 years, absolutely. And my father was very educated. He had a master's degree in human behavior. I was going to Toastmasters seminars since I was 5-6 years old. So I had an understanding of communication. My mother was an educator, had a degree in elementary education. And so it was encouraged in our household to express, to communicate, to articulate, and to be very clear about your intentions. And there was a accountability around that. So, for me, now I'm just wired a little differently, so I lack empathy a lot. I got to work on that. But in terms of expressing myself, I didn't have an issue with that. But I think as men in general, we have issues with expressing the wide range of emotions. We tend to only express ourselves in anger. Right?
That's my next question.
It comes right to that every single time. Like you can be as to yourself and kept as you can, but as soon as you're upset, that's when the real you comes out, and it's like I just got to let it all out now. So I try to watch that. You know what I mean? Like if it's something that really bothers me to my core, I try to speak to it and get it out in the open. That way we can discuss it. That way at least I have some kind of clarity and some closure to it. Because keeping things in, it does more damage for me personally than it does to kind of let it out.
It's a societal thing too, I think, with men. We're and not to get into the whole toxic masculinity. I don't know if I necessarily subscribe to that, but I do think that there's some areas of improvement in society that society gives men cues that we can only express ourselves in one way, and it's looked as a feminine thing to do something otherwise,
or a weakness.
Exactly. So we don't articulate the range of emotions like I mentioned earlier. Sadness, anger, disappointment, frustration, hurt, pain. All those different things are fine to express. It's a matter of how you express them. I think that when we think about emotions, we think about how women tend to express themselves, which is in a much more overt way.
Right.
And what I've learned from myself personally is that I can communicate and express emotion without having to express it the way that a woman does in an overt way. I can say, hey man, I'm disappointed, and articulate that without having to like throw something or be upset about it, or be catty or say some type of condescending or sarcastic remark. We can have a hashing out, right, of disagreement, and I can express to you that I was hurt by an action without having to go through extremes of an emotional display.
Right.
Beautifully put. Well, I got a list of questions, but I'm gonna keep my segment short. Yeah. But next question, I feel this was a good one. Is it okay for men to cry?
Oh, definitely.
Absolutely.
No.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that goes to that whole idea of what makes a man. You know, I think when you look throughout Scripture, men cried all the time.
Yeah.
Listen, bro, I was watching the verses yesterday, and when DMX played "Slipping," I had to get up and go because I was like, "Damn, this is taking me somewhere I ain't been in a long time." Like, it took me back, and I was like, "Damn, I really." And nothing. And I'm gonna tell you this for me personally, nothing ever gets me to that besides maybe tragedy in the family or something horrible happening. If I hear anything about kids in the news, that stuff gets me close. But yesterday, tripping almost brought a tear to my eye. I was like, damn. I was sitting at work getting ready to leave, and I'm like, I'm watching the verses, and the whole time I'm going, and I think it just triggered where I was when that song came out. Like you said, the PTSD for certain things. I was just like, damn, like I got to get out of here. Like I can't let y'all see me like this. But I think it's important to release those emotions. Though I do. I think it brings upon a sense of like, okay, I can move on now. Like, I got it out of me, and now I can go about my business without having to keep all this pent up. Because I'm telling you, pent up aggression is the cause of a lot of things that happen out here, especially with black men in general. I have seen it firsthand. So it's good to get those emotions out.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, part B to that: is it okay to cry in front of people, or would you rather hit those emotions to yourself? Like go in a room or something, or
I mean, listen. I think it depends. Your level of vulnerability is going to depend on your level of comfortability with the individuals involved, right? And I think that you're going to see in situations where there's going to be times where I'm not trying to have you see me cry right now, and I may need some privacy to go away and collect myself and get myself together. There's other times where I feel like you may need to see me cry. So that you can understand the pain that you caused.
Yeah, the extent of whatever I'm going through.
Exactly. And so I think that, one thing is that we can't overthink the emotional aspect of the expression when it comes to shedding tears, because tears can even be expressed in joy. And
happiness,
very much.
And happiness. There's been times where things that have happened in my life where I've been, so relieved that I was out of a situation that I shed tears of joy, and I was exuberant and excited, elated that something happened in my life. So, we gotta get what makes a man is his character. Okay, how you live your life, how do you take care of your children, how do you treat your significant other, how do you treat your parents, right? How do you interact with the world around you? That's what makes a man a man.
And one thing we always forget is how do we treat ourselves. We get so wrapped up in trying to treat everybody else. Moms, pops, kids, wifey, and we forget about ourselves.
Because we can't make excuses.
There's no room for it.
And I'm like you said, not to be on the misogynistic side or anything like that. But I think when your wife goes through something, if there's some postpartum from a pregnancy, or, you're there for her, and it's not much you may be able to do for the direct issue, but you can do things for her to kind of help the environment be a little more tense. For me, things that I went through in my life, even with my significant other now, she never knew that I suffered from a form of depression. She had no clue until I told her maybe a year or two ago. And when she asked me how did I cope with it, I was just kind of like, well, it was just something I gradually had to get through on my own because I wasn't comfortable telling anybody why I felt the way that I felt. But I've had relationships ruined because of it. And when people ask me about it, it's just like, I don't talk to that person no more. But I know deep down what the deep-rooted issue was. So just expressing that stuff and getting it out, it's important, man. It is. I can't express that enough. For anybody who's going through something, sometimes it's easier to talk to people that have gone through that. So maybe if you're keeping it to yourself, it's one thing, but if you have somebody that's been through it, like talk to those people. I'm not big on going to see a doctor, so I'm not gonna really say that. I'm not.
You gotta change that though.
I know. I'm getting there. Getting there. But if it's somebody that that's been through those things, like be open about them things, man, because it does more help than it does anything else.
I've gone to counseling.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Like for yourself or like marriage counseling?
For myself.
Okay.
And marriage counseling. Yeah, absolutely. There's a benefit in going to therapy because you need somebody with a perspective that's not inside your situation to be able
outside
to speak.
Looking
Absolutely,
in.
to be able to tell you about yourself.
Right.
And one of the things that actually helped me become more empathetic and more sensitive to people surrounding was because of sessions that I had with a counselor. And she candidly told me that you have a tendency to be arrogant and presumptuous about the way you approach people. And that conversation led me to be more observant about how I interacted with people, right? and consider people's feelings more than what I was before. I tend to look at people in the past a lot like chess pieces on a board that I'm moving around, and I'm seeing what's the ROI. If I invest X amount of time into you, what will you produce in return for me, right? And I looked at people like resources, and that was not a good thing, and I needed to change it about myself in order for me to elevate. And so, but I couldn't have done that unless I spent the time to go sit down and allow someone else to listen to me and really hear me, who didn't know me and have a precedent already set in their mind.
That's dope. And then, okay, I got mental health, ways to cope with this. So a lot of people of us don't know, once we get in a bind or start don't knowing how to think or what to do. Some things is set a schedule, put everything in order, and my man right here knows all about setting schedules.
The king of schedules.
Number 2 on the list is engage in a daily self-care. Like I was just saying, pretty much take time out to take yourself out. Go get a haircut. Go, you know what I'm saying? Take the extra 20 minutes in the shower.
Listen, so all y'all that make fun of me for getting a weekly haircut, that's me, okay? That's my self-care.
That's what I'm saying, Some men like to go get a manicure. Some men like to go get a pedicure. I mean, if you into that, I mean, hey,
clear coat.
Whatever your vice is,
Listen, you clear coat your nails, homeboy. I'm going to say something, okay?
It's all over.
You know what I'm saying? Whatever it is, just, like I like to tell people, stop and smell the roses. Everybody has to do that shit. And then the third on the list is identify a positive support circle or team.
There you go. There you go. It's important.
That's real positive.
And people don't like to. You see the bad seed, what I notice in a lot of people, but you don't want to let them go because as long as they've been around, and it's hard to let that person go.
Your loyalty to
that person.
You to be blind.
You know that they're bad. You know there's something wrong with them, but it's like, man, that's my partner. I can't let them go.
But here's the thing, though. I'm a firm believer in this, right? Friends are people who tell you what you need to hear and not what you want to hear.
Right.
Okay. If you have anybody around you that is toxic, is not contributing to the progression of your life, that is not a friend. Okay, that is an associate. That is someone that you're acquainted with.
Right.
That is someone that you actually may kick it with and have fun with from time to time. But that's not a friend. We use that word friend far too loosely.
Yeah, man, we do. Calling everybody bro.
Everybody is not your brother.
Man.
Doesn't mean that you have to. That doesn't mean you have to have an adverse relationship with them. But some people in your life for a reason and a season, and you have to be able to have discernment to identify and recognize who is in it with you. I think there was a wise man that told me, man. I think it was a pastor that I used to attend a church back in the day when I first started, coming into my faith, and he said that you're blessed if you have 5 friends in a lifetime.
Oh, damn.
Think about that.
Wow.
Okay? 5 friends in a lifetime. And again, the definition for me is people that tell you what you need to hear, not what you want. And there's a lot of times when, you got people around you that just want to add or kind of placate, if you will, and say, oh yeah, and they want to hype things that are not good for you at all whatsoever. Those are not your friends.
Oh no, you got to recognize that early. I mean, especially speaking about black men's mental health, and your circle is probably one of the most important aspects of your life, because even if you're doing well, there is a situation or a time where people can draw you down just from being around you and their energy or their lack of progression or their thought process not being the same as yours. Like, you can really be pulled down by the people around you.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Man.
I love this. This is a great conversation.
It is. It's not one that happens enough. I couldn't tell you the last time somebody asked me about my mental health.
Yeah.
Like, seriously. So it's important. I
say that a million times. Damn, like, hey, man, how are you feeling? Like,
you're taken aback a little bit. Like, wait a minute. Like, are you being serious or are you being facetious? Like, what's going on here? like, nigga, I'm fine. What you mean?
That's what I'm saying. And then it's a lot of times we'll walk past somebody and we'll see a lot of people wear their emotions on their shoulder. And you can see somebody depressed, or you know something's wrong, or you over here, man, my wife is doing this, or she pissing me off, or my kids are losing, and then we don't care. We just keep walking. Like sometimes all it takes is a, hey man, what's up? You all right? You want to step outside? You want to chop it up? What's going on? That's all it takes.
We're conditioned also too, I think, in American society to act as if everything's fine. Oh yeah. Even when we greet each other, you know, how you doing? Oh yeah, I'm good.
I'm good.
Yeah.
You're not good.
You're not. Yeah.
You know, and so I honestly years ago started to train myself to just be honest. People ask me how I'm doing. I've had a crappy day so far. How you doing?
Exactly.
People trying to make the most out of it.
Yeah, just you know what? You know, one thing too, like when people always say, they love to say, "Oh, hanging in there."
Yeah.
You know what I started to say? Don't let go.
Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
that could be
because
it.
if you telling me you hanging in there,
that means you ain't
that's
got a lot
not
left.
good.
Yeah, that's not a lot left.
Right. That means somebody pushed you over the edge. You didn't slip.
And you hanging in that
you know what I'm saying?
motherfucker.
No, man,
boy.
don't let go, man. You got to keep. We have to move from surviving to thriving.
Right.
And I think so many, especially black men, are in survival mode on a regular basis, man. But we got to move out of that survival mode and start thriving in life. And it starts, I believe, obviously, not it starts, but a part of it is the mental health. I believe spiritual health too, as well.
As well. Shit, even physical health.
Right.
Yes.
Going around eating cookies and fucking and cakes and stuff,
you feel
and
bad, you
drinking
feel bad.
40s and shit. You know what I'm
You
saying?
do. You do.
Our body ain't made for that. So yeah.
What did Deion Sanders say? Remember that his famous quote? He said, "You look good, you feel good.
Oh, yeah.
You feel good, you play good."
Yeah. Right. For
and
real.
that goes with life.
You
too,
play
as
good,
well.
you get paid good.
Yeah.
That's OG Prime. Yeah.
OG, shout out to Prime though.
Yeah,
For real.
my
Shout
man.
out to Prime.
All right, well, let me jump into some of these comments real quick.
Yo,
Once again, it's that time.
Get into it.
Hey, one more time for me.
Yeah, get into it.
Hey. All right, this one is about the Elijah McClain killing. And this is, I can't fuck this name up.
There we go. Come on.
Bjorn Valentine.
There we go.
Yay.
Good job there.
Bjorn Valentine.
It's all over.
But upon that conversation, good combo once again. EM's Elijah McClain's death did hit different. Learned a bunch per usual. Keep swinging at him. Great content.
Oh, thank you there. Look at
Thank you,
that.
Mr. Valentine. We appreciate
Bjorn. Is the E silent?
Bjorn Ironside.
Bjorn?
Yeah.
Okay. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
that means you're actually paying attention to what we're saying,
right,
and processing it instead
looking
of just
past the damn
hearing
title
shit and going for it. Yeah.
You got a black brother with a Nordic name.
Listen,
I'll take it.
We all got these European names out here, though, man.
For real. I mean, I ain't even gonna get it.
That's a whole other
We
conversation.
got the same name. So, so
I was going to say, this is pretty standard.
Yeah.
But the next one is about tongue tie. Shit, I got your syndrome from last week, man.
Say it over again. I'll cut it for you.
All right. About black independence is the next topic I have from a Raphael Tillman. Dangerous, disrespectful, and incredibly asinine statements. Bottom line, I will never attach myself to a party that harbors racists, hate groups, and white supremacists. Therefore, suggest that we give our votes away too easily without. Oh, I screwed that up. That we give our votes away too easily without putting into clear context is ignorance.
I'll tell you what I said to good old Raphael.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, listen.
You the one that typed it
Listen,
up.
yeah, I'll tell you, and it was a little lengthy, so we'll, it basically said, Raphael, I'm not sure you even watched this video. At no point was it suggested for anyone to vote for any particular party over the other. This is simply a discussion piece about black independence. We want our people to be more aware of the decisions they make and not to give their votes away to a particular party because they are for black people when in actuality no political party is.
There you go.
You can view the full video on our page, my brother. There's always a way to discuss these issues without the divisive tones or negative energy. Our show is a show made by us for us. Don't get it confused. Enjoy your day.
Hey, shout out to you, man. Shout out to you for that, man.
Goodness gracious, watch the video and listen with an open mind, man. We not on here speaking no nonsense. Goodness gracious.
Now, he did come back and apologize.
I was gonna say,
Shout out
my
to
guy's
my man.
soul.
Shout out
so,
to my man.
Shout
He
out to
did.
him, man. He did come back and apologize after your
Shout out to my
comment
guy.
and said that he should have watched it. He apologized and he went on to give his perspective in a more respectable manner.
Right. Oh, it's all over. And not this still on topic. Norman that we talked about from last week. I don't know if y'all noticed, but my boy Norman wouldn't like the page after we
Come on, Norman.
So Norman will see all our content. We appreciate you, my guy. I just wanted to throw it. I saw it when it popped up. I was like, well, I'll be. My boy just went ahead and logged in.
I went and tagged him and said he made it in our show.
Nice. Okay, nice. I appreciate
probably
that.
giving us the bird right now.
We love you, Norman.
But I do want to say to Raphael Tillman, a lot of you don't see that on the internet. People going back and apologizing.
Oh yeah, he
for
did.
When they messed up.
He did.
So big up to you for that apology, brother. Like admitting you're wrong.
No disrespect.
We need to do that. Yeah,
you know, we
It's
grown
all
men.
love. We
Like
didn't.
I
We
said
didn't take
last
no way.
week, man. Civility, man.
Right.
Last comment is about friendly white people. Classic Uncle Tom response we got here, baby. Right on the money. I'm gonna say it right there to you. Cook at me.
Right.
Anyway, it's from Kenneth Noel or Noel's. Screwed that up. Anyway, I don't care. It's not so much nicer. It is the way they. Damn, see, look at me, man.
You know what? He also listen. In your defense, there's literally no punctuation
At all.
in
So
his
you just
response.
flowing
so
through
I'm-
it.
Yeah, okay. I'm,
You gotta just slow it down. Really, like
Okay.
let this one marinate.
it's not so much nicer. It's that they are wise race of people. They pay attention. They pay attention to the time they study while we're out there twerking, rap battling,
Piece of shit.
dumb stuff. We need to be studying the scriptures,
I'm
studying nature, cleansing our bodies, raising our children right.
And civilizing them.
Oh, he's missing that and civil. Okay, it's throwing me off, man. First of all, brother, you need to go back to
This run-on sentence.
This
Bro.
big-
Why the
big ass
fuck you
punctuation
down-
class,
No, fuck
yeah.
that. Why you talking down on battle rap, nigga? It ain't got nothing to do with this.
I know it's like, come on.
Hold on. Like, twerking and battle rap
Okay,
ain't the
but
same thing, okay?
listen.
That's my part. I
Man.
don't care about nothing else you talking about.
He
Shit.
said though, hold on though. He said that it's not that they're nicer; they are a wise race of people.
they're wise. Race. It's not so much that they're
Anglo-Saxons
nicer.
are wise. That's the reason why they.
Can you see my man sitting there like they're such wise set of people tapping his fingers?
Uncle
Like, get the
Ruckus
fuck
sitting
out of
Uncle
here.
one eye open.
Ruckus.
Get out of here. He ain't even Uncle Tom. He is Uncle Ruckus. That great talking down on a great white man.
Talking down on the great white man.
Talking down on. Come on, listen, Kenneth. You got to do better, my brother. You got to do better, man. First of all, if you're gonna come and you're gonna insult your own people,
Man.
at least do it with a much better grammar and punctuation. Because one thing about the English language, white folks should have taught you how to punctuate your sentences.
Exactly. Ain't no changing that.
Yeah, see, you know the slaves that stayed at the plantation, they still didn't get no books. So
Nope.
my boy didn't learn to comma.
No,
up here.
Kenneth was a
But we got
sellout.
love for you, bro. You commenting, and any engagement is good engagement. So it's all jokes and giggles. But listen, how you feel is how you feel, and
We're not joking about that punctuation.
Fortunately,
That's
in
real.
life in America teaches you these lessons about this wise race of people that you speak about. So you can put as much faith in them as you would like to. And not all are the same, but you will come to learn that they're not on your side, my brother. So hopefully you
have
get
your
some
allies,
insight.
though.
There are
Right.
some allies.
There are
absolutely.
some allies.
Shout out to
but-
the allies out
right,
there.
yeah, they all out there. But just make sure that you're choosing the right ones, my brother, because they still out here trying to lynch us. So remember that. It's like it's not a game. Like it's not
That
a game.
news
at
wasn't in
all.
Bubble Wallace little locker for no reason.
And saying all of anything is unwise, Mr. Noel. All
Right.
of anything. That's 100% of all people cannot be all things, right? So we obviously on here criticize our own people for certain things.
Man.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So you can't be jaded in your thinking.
Never.
Right.
And that, my people, is socially influenced. I do appreciate y'all's participation in that. And we're going to kick out the next segment. Politics as usual.
Politics as usual.
No mouth.
Yes, indeed. Today, in American politics, federal police have ascended on Portland.
Hey.
And Operation Legend is apparently gearing up to be implemented across the United States. What is really going on in America, folks? Is America as we know it disappearing before our eyes? Is the deployment of federal troops justified? Or are we seeing the American democracy turning into a totalitarian state? What do you think, gentlemen? Should we be worried about federal police ascending upon our American cities?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've been hearing the same talk for years, like younger. We're gonna send the military in. Anytime some national disaster happens or some freak shit happens, like I have yet to see them come in and take like active action. So I just believe it's just people
Well, so
just
far,
talking
look
at
like they're
national.
just shutting down the protesters. Like that's
That's what I'm saying. Like
I know in Portland, or the first place where they employed them at. That's what they did. They came out for crowd control. So
Yeah.
getting them all out of an area where they had the consecutive days of protesting, and next I think they said one of the next cities was Chicago. So you know what that's about. He threatened that before about sending the National Guard to Chicago for the gun violence and stuff like that. So
that's what I'm saying.
listen, when it comes to the federal government, when it comes to the police, I always think black men should be worried, or black people in general. So I'm gonna pass this one to y'all.
Okay, so listen, this is what's interesting about this, right? So I hear both sides, right? Because we're so polarized in the country. And so I wanted to bring this up because it's interesting. But what people are in an uproar about is the fact that these federal police these are not just like SWAT, like typical riot police, which the city deploys. These are federal representatives, agents for the federal government, and they're snatching up protesters in unmarked vehicles, y'all. They have no insignia on their uniforms. They out here in full military regalia with masks on, and they're putting people in white unmarked vans, snatching them up and zipping them off. So does that concern you?
Yes, hell yeah. Where are they zipping them to, first of all?
That's what people are saying, right?
What?
And the mayor of Portland says, we didn't ask y'all to come here. Now, yes, so Donald Trump has sent the federal police to Portland to protect, as he says, the buildings, right? Now, like you said, there's some legitimacy in that, right? Because first of all, I think there's some weird stuff going on, and I wanna say this thing too, but the fact that they're unmarked is weird to me. What's also weird to me is that, you know what the black population of Portland is, gentlemen? Do you know?
Mm-hmm.
Just take a gander. And you can't cheat because I know you look at the document in front of you.
Low.
What do you think it is? I'm serious. What do you think it is, Clark?
In Portland, you said?
Yeah, in Portland. We know the national is like around 14%. So what do you think Portland is?
2%?
Okay. 5.8%. Oregon State is only 3%. Okay. So all of these things happen when George Floyd situation occurred. But to me, do you think that maybe white people are using this as an excuse to like go dumb, to go ham? Because why have they not chilled? Because they're at the federal building, bro. They're graffitiing up the federal courthouse. Listen, I'm okay with dissenting, but are we gonna take over? Are you gonna like put in a new government? Are you gonna put in new police? Or are you just effing stuff up just for the sake of it? You know what I'm saying? So that's what's weird to me, that there are really no black people out here. It's really like white people against white people.
Yeah.
So what's going on in this country?
Yeah, it's kind of showing I mean, I guess you can say that, like you said, there are allies. But then when you see the pointless things, like the one white lady who set the Wendy's on fire, or the white guy who started the damage to the AutoZone that started off all the other stuff that went on in Minnesota. It's kind of looking at it. It's tough to really even say that the protesting is really effective because of the interference of those individuals.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to tell what would be, what would happen if they weren't out affecting things the way that they were. Like, would these protests be peaceful the way that they start off? But it's like as soon as the lights go out.
Yeah.
And I don't know much about Antifa and the things that they've said about that, but you know, I think that it's real, and we've seen it. We've seen videos of like white individuals organizing the violence and telling black people, to go, hey, y'all go down here, we're gonna go this way.
Yeah.
The alleged videos of them paying individuals to do certain damage. So it's just
the undercover cops are like
right.
They said.
So it's like maybe what this is them kind of taking control of that. But who's to say, man? Like, who's to say? This is kind of tough.
So y'all ready to go deeper?
Go ahead.
I was waiting on it.
So check it out, right? So that's one aspect of it, okay? So there's some things, you know, I know that black folks going to be mad at us for saying that there's some strangeness going on with these protests, which there are. You have to just, if you're a logical person, you have to see it, okay? What's getting weirder is that just a couple days ago, have you guys heard of Operation Legend?
No.
Okay, so check this out. This is being deployed across the U.S., okay? And this was signed into effect by your boy Trumpito.
Trumpito.
Yes, Donnie Trumpito. I'm going to tell you what it is. Operation Legend is named after 4-year-old Legend Talifero, young little black kid who was shot and killed in his sleep early June 29th in Kansas City, Missouri, part of a 40% increase in homicides in KC. Y'all got to do better in KC, man. Y'all got to chill out. According to the Justice Department. Under Operation Legend, Attorney General William Barr promised to send more than 100 agents from the FBI, U.S. Marshals, DEA, and ATF to help state and local law enforcement beginning in Kansas City. Potential cities to come, people: Chicago, Philadelphia, Detroit, Albuquerque, at all places. I didn't know Albuquerque was popping like that.
Hey, man, Breaking Bad.
That's new to me.
I guess so. That's I guess, yeah. And Cleveland. So do you guys kind of notice, though, a commonality between these cities?
Yeah.
What is the consistent theme that you see?
The inner city, Chicago, Philadelphia, Detroit. Those three stand out. Cleveland, especially. Certain parts of Ohio are pretty crazy. But those are predominantly large areas of, us.
They're they're predominantly black, and they're also all those cities are actually ran by Democrats. There's not a single, there's not a single Republican one there, and so what's strange to me is that this operation involves federal troops. Now, it's not strange that federal troops and local law enforcement often work together on larger things, right? You see the Fed get involved with certain, crimes. But to have federal police deployed in a city is not something that is not a precedent that we've seen.
Never.
Okay? And what you're seeing now, even I saw today that the mayor of Philadelphia says that if Trump sends federal police, he is going to find ways to prosecute the federal police for anything that they do that's unlawful or outside of the letter of the law. So this is something is weird happening in this country between Republicans and Democrats, those on the liberal left and those on the far right, and which is the reason why I continue to say as we as black people have to be aware of what's going on. In Portland, it's not black people protesting. I see very, very few black people protesting about social justice and these kinds of things. We have pretty much, like we usually do, we get in an uproar, we calm it down. We are very forgiving as a people, and we just want to, like you said, Caution, I just want to live out here.
Right. Exactly.
We're just trying to live our day-to-day and raise our families, and we're getting pulled in to things like Operation Legend, so now we got federal police potentially going into cities. So this could get weird, especially coming up with November, right? We have an election coming up. Okay, the country, to me, is descending further and further into chaos. And I don't even know what's going on anymore.
What the hell is going on?
Oh, man.
I wish we had that Ronald Isley drop right then. What the hell is going on?
Oh, my gosh. But, I know that this is kind of a, there's a lot of conspiracy theories about this on both sides, but I just want to kind of get y'all's thought about the federal police.
That's wild.
Does this make you
hopping out of white vans and snatching people up, bro?
With no insignia? I mean, so think about this, right? Look at Breonna Taylor, for example.
Right, yeah.
Okay, she's in her house chilling with her man. Her man has a license, to carry firearm. All right. Plainclothes cops come in to the house, and I'm sure, even in Caution in LA, you've heard about these kind of stories where like cats coming up in unmarked cars. Now if what happens if I shoot you? You don't have any type of government insignia on you, so can I return fire? If you're trying to snatch me and we squab, and I break your jaw or something of that nature, okay, now am I going to be prosecuted for fighting a federal agent, but I don't know who you are?
Exactly.
You could just be a militia member. And so that to me is what's very interesting about
How am I supposed to know if you don't pull out no badge and then you run up on me and the first thing you hollering out, it ain't, I'm the police. You just hollering out, trying to whip my ass, and then I hit you, and as soon as I hit you, now I'm in jail for breaking your jaw and attacking the police officer.
And they look like military. So you got military walking around the streets, and so now what's interesting is that Donald Trump and Barr are saying that they're going to do this Operation Legend to quell violence in a lot of these cities. So it's really not about, it has nothing to do with protests. So it's almost kind of like they use this as a means, right? Like, because did they just create this in the last couple months? I mean, maybe they did. I mean, he kind of is like a off the cuff kind of a dude. But it's kind of weird timing to say, okay, here come the protests, and now we're gonna send in federal police into Chicago, Philadelphia, Detroit, and Cleveland, okay, to quell inner city violence, and it's named Operation Legend around a 4-year-old little black kid. So it's like, okay, wait a minute here. Do you want to help black people in the inner city, or are you trying to do something else?
No, it's something else. I guarantee you.
It's always something else.
It's something else, especially with him. There's an ulterior motive there that we don't know much about, but he seems to be doing a lot of things now to keep his name in the conversation and saying different things to strike people a certain way. That seems to be his motto of doing things. So we will see, but this doesn't surprise me at all because he's been threatening it for the past couple years now.
And I think we just need to be aware. We need to talk about these things and not let them just kind of glow over, because things get buried in the narrative. But to me, it appears that America as we know it is crumbling before our very eyes. From the coast to the suburbs to rural America, the nation seems to be descending into chaos. Everyone is unhinged, emotionally out of control, and unable to cope with the most simple of daily issues. Are we witnessing the beginning of the end of the experiment called the United States? Or will there be redemption and a rebirth of a new America that finally exudes the principles of liberty and justice for all? It's evident that we are living in a defining moment in the history of this nation. How will the story end, and what part will you choose to play in its demise or its restoration? That's the question we each have to ask ourselves.
Very much so. Also, one of my favorite quotes is from a president. I won't say which one. You can do your own research. And I just had to find it because I heard it here recently. But it's that America will never be destroyed from the outside. If we falter and lose our freedoms, it will be because we destroyed ourselves. And so that is a very true statement. That is actually what you see manifesting itself now. Just be careful of what you do. Be careful of why you're doing it. I know a lot of people that's still out protesting. Not as much as they were initially.
Yeah.
So just be mindful of these things. If you're not watching the news and haven't heard about these people that they have and that they're employing in these cities, please be careful out there, man, because I don't know who they're targeting. But we always seem to be the target. So just be careful with the way you move and, make sure that we're all out there looking out for each other, because that's the reason why we're out there anyway. So
that's all we got to start doing, working together.
Right,
working
man.
Together.
So, we like to get into some
It's
other things.
all over.
We'll go into the Art and Life section. Shout out to everybody we featured on this Art and Life section. What we'll probably do here soon is kind of put some of these together, maybe house them all in a certain place, and for you to be able to go and find them and things like that. They are on the YouTube. We do have the branded segments, but I may put them all together one day and do like a collaborative thing to show everybody love that's been on here. Today I did want to choose a guy who I've been very, very into his craft and the things that he's done. I've really followed him for quite some time, and it's Artist Spotlight today is on my guy Jay Rhodes.
Shout out to Jay Rhodes.
I don't know how many people whether you do or know if you know Jay Rhodes or not. Awesome producer, Dallas Texan to the heart, Mr. Oak Cliff University himself. But just kind of some things about him. He does like to refer to himself as a raptivist.
A raptivist, I like that.
Yes, because my brother is very into the culture. He is very into his people.
Yeah.
So if you get a chance, look up Jay Rose and his music. If you want to learn something about our history, my brother does a great job of breaking it down in his music and giving you a view into the life of a black man and just the black people and what we're going through. He is awesome at it. But Justin L. Rhodes is a Billboard Stellar and Dove Award-winning music producer from Dallas, Texas. He's worked with Lecrae, The Game, Talib Kweli, Black Thought, Rick Ross, Slim Thug, Royce da 5'9", Ab Soul, and many more. Have been backed by J. Rose Production. He is also an artist, educator, public speaker, and author. His book, These Beats Ain't Free, serves as a template for up-and-coming producers, artists, and dreamers alike to make their passion their paycheck. To date, it has sold over 7,500 copies independently, so stay tuned for much more from Mr. Rhodes. But bigger than music, though, he is the face of the These Beats Ain't Free movement, which started as a slogan, turned into a book, and then morphed into a clothing line, and is now in an up-and-coming series primed to be on a major network very soon. So shout out to him for that. If you get a chance, you can find his book series online, These Beats Ain't Free. The YouTube series, which is awesome. He had a silent hip-hop film that he did where he traveled to New York and worked with different artists like Styles P and Talib, but he's not talking in the video. It's just his camera guy. Shout out to Corey Williams as well. He's an amazing camera guy, and the work that they do is awesome. So if you get a chance, check that out. The series, it'll give you an in-depth glimpse of the life of music producers, writers, and engineers. Kind of think like Entourage is how he describes it. A lot of special cameos, locations, and cool episodes for you to see in season 1. So he says, I'm very excited for you all to see the show. It brought him and his team out of their comfort zone. So look forward to that. Also, his recent works, he had a hip-hop musical called It's a Wonderful Plight. So this brother, he does it all, y'all. He created a hip-hop musical called It's a Wonderful Plight, him and Corey Williams again, that attacks gentrification. So in a quote from him, what he stated was, I've been really looking into moving back into the Oak Cliff area to help build our neighborhood. Whilst looking at prices, I'm just letting you guys know they're buying our houses, adding a few marble fixings take that out. Adding a few marble fixings and attempting to price us out of what's ours. Nope.
Wow.
Come claim what's yours. Some areas of Oak Cliff are extremely beautiful, and they know this. So come back home and build with Kenesha so you don't have to worry about Karen calling the cops on you for breathing while black. So if you want to check him out, man, listen.
Wow.
And the clips I've seen, I haven't saw the film. He had a premiere where they just painted that huge Nipsey Hussle mural in Dallas. Shout out to Jeremy Biggers for that. He did an awesome job at it. He had a premiere there. It kind of got rained out, but he was showing the film, and it looks awesome, bro. Like, he's been in different film festivals where they work. So him and Corey Williams do a great job. I'm hoping to get the chance to work with him. I reached out to him here recently because I do want to do some visual work with them guys because they're amazing. But check that out, man. They shoot in some areas in Oak Cliff. It's very artistic. It's very eclectic. It's different, bro. And when I seen it, it was like, oh, that's what I want to do this segment on, because it was something that I haven't seen a rapper or producer do. This man has done work with everybody. He doesn't have to do the things he does in the community, but he does them anyway. So shout out to him. You can find him at thesebeatsaintfree.com. Okay, so make sure you get it right, my boy. His beats are ridiculous. So if you hit that man up about some beats, make sure you got your bread and your budget right, because he's not working with you if you don't.
Have your ducks in a row.
Right. So his Instagram is at J_Rhodes, and you can also find him at These Beats Ain't Free. So
how you spell that, J Rhodes?
It is J_RHODES. And These Beats Ain't Free is as it sounds. So y'all figure that out. You're on the court. But for the most part, man, just a dope artist. You know, if you're from the Dallas area, I'm sure you know who he is. He's worked with everybody on the local scene, especially. I know he has worked with many artists here, and hopefully one day we get a chance to work with him as well. So that's it for me, man. That's it for the life and art for the day, and we can move along to the next.
Yeah.
Shout out to Oak Cliff, though.
Oak Cliff.
Hey.
Oak Cliff University, man.
Yeah, cool.
Well, let's get up and get out and get something, gentlemen.
Hey, is it that time?
You and I got to do for you and I, and we always want to highlight those that are doing just that. We're going to feature a nonprofit right here in our own backyard of the Triple D. They work all over the Dallas Metroplex, and they go by the name of Behind Every Door. They focus on building and creating community centers for at-risk youth in hard-pressed areas of the city, most notably in the Village Oaks apartments in the Cliff. So funny enough, so y'all know, we kind of create content and curate content. I didn't know that we were going to talk about J Rhodes. J Rhodes is passionate about the community. We're talking about an organization that's also passionate about the community. And one of the brothers that we mutually know, Street Hymns, is a cat that works. He's in the battle rap scene. Really dope.
Shout out to battle rap.
Yeah, shout out to battle rap.
Talking shit about battle rap. Don't get me started again. I'm gonna move on.
Hey, so Street Hymns also goes by Love Nindo too as well. Those are his two different aliases, that his monikers that he rocks under. But he also worked behind Every Door, and this organization is really phenomenal. And I'll tell you guys about what they do. And they really focus on community centers in the community. And they say often when people think of change in the context of urban poverty, they think of finding ways to leave or quote unquote get out of the neighborhoods experiencing poverty. Because community centers exist within the communities they serve, they provide a chance to affect change in the community. They allow us to be a present resource for the long haul. Within our centers, we seek to create home-like environments that promote safety, stability, and relationship. Community centers also provide an effective foundation for being a hub of resources, okay, to the populations we serve. As a network, all of our community centers have common values, programming structure, and funding, but have enough autonomy to adapt to the needs and desires of the communities that they serve. So really what this looks like, y'all, I'm gonna tell you what it looks like at Village Oaks down in the Cliff.
Hey.
They have a community garden. They even have a studio. Okay, so Street for a long time, who is also a vegan, he taught the kids urban farming. So he was teaching these kids in the apartment complex how to plant, how to grow, the science behind it all. And he had a studio where he let them come in there and just express themselves. So we talked about even earlier in the show about the mental health, right? And the inability of us to express our emotions. He would let them come in and get all that out. He would be the engineer for their sessions, record their stuff, let them have their stuff. The only qualification was, you couldn't have anything that was derogatory, violent against each other or other individuals. You could express yourself. He didn't. He wasn't too big on monitoring all the curse words and filtering everything out because he wanted them to express naturally. But this is the kind of stuff that Behind Every Door does, man. And again, it's really cut and dry in terms of the community center. I think that Jay Rhodes had a great point talking about the gentrification that happens. What's interesting for a historical standpoint is that Oak Cliff was a all-white neighborhood at one point. Okay, and they unfortunately, and I hate to say it, what happens with white people a lot is that they kind of abandon cities when black people move in, and in neighborhoods and areas, and then they go back in when the property values depreciate so bad, and they buy everything up, and then they move us to the areas that they no longer now want. So that's actually happening here in Dallas, like North Dallas. When I first moved here to Texas, North Dallas area, Skillman, Ardelia, Forest, all of that. That wasn't the hood around Richland College in that area, okay? That was not considered a hood at all in the least, but now the North Side is called the Nutty North Side, the North, okay? And it's because of the fact that you had those from the north move all the way into Plano, into Frisco, into the northern sector of the city, and the property values depreciate and drop drastically. Okay, so it's not like we're all coming in lowering the property value on ourselves. Okay, it's a few black people come in for work because it's easier to commute, and then our presence starts to make people uncomfortable. Okay, now we gotta take some responsibility because we do have our cousins and them come over to the house, and then all of a sudden you got your cousin boyfriend coming over there now, and now all of a sudden he trapping in the house, he trapping in the apartment complex. But that's not all of us, you know what I'm saying? And so what happens in these situations is that once we don't have the means, and then these apartment complexes too as well, if you know anything about them, they are owned by these big investment groups, okay? And they're just looking to flip them. So as y'all know, they don't update them. You call for maintenance, they barely bring the maintenance out. What maintenance? Yeah. You put in a maintenance request and they don't come for months. They barely fix something, okay? And then they take your deposit and they don't invest it back in the apartment complex, and then they just move in another tenant, and then the apartment complex goes downhill. Not because we did anything, but the people who own it are not taking care of it. And they're using it as a flip. Okay, and then they sell it to another property group who comes in, they do a bunch of renovations, they kick everybody out, they raise up the rent, right? And they do it all over again, or they just do the bare minimum repairs.
A couple new microwaves,
a couple new microwaves, exactly.
Yeah, bullshit.
Light
switches.
And so Jay Rhodes, in your previous section, I feel like these are two kind of bleeding in together a little bit today. But we have to do better about investing into our own community. And we bring up NIP again. We talked about the NIP mural. We talked about NIP on another episode. But that is the stuff we're talking about, is buying real estate. And even shout out to Vlad TV. He brings a lot of people on his show talking about real estate investment and how we need to take more control of our communities. And so I wanted to give a shout out to Behind Every Door for what they're doing by building community centers, having a positive impact for the youth in those areas, and by curating experiences that help them grow. And so it's a great thing. But, we on AllOva Radio are always going to give you things that are going to enlighten, uplift, educate, and also challenge you. We want to remind you to go to all of our platforms. It's AllOva Radio, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. It's AllOva Radio. That's correct. Again, our Spotify playlist, if you want to jam to that through the weekend, you can go to It's AllOva Media on Spotify. Our episodes drop on Tuesdays. You can watch those on Facebook and YouTube. And you'll get the exclusive branded segments of each of these segments: Community Impact Report, Politics as Usual, Art and Life, and the Socially Influenced on IGTV. That's right. You'll get those on IGTV. The full length is available on Facebook and YouTube. Thank y'all. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. It's AllOva Radio. Peace.